Came out of some feedback from this group. So
Oh, cool.
I just got it.
Okay. You're good to go.
We're good to go. Okay. I now call to order this meeting of the College Place Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Board. Will the clerk please take the roll call and verify that we have a quorum today?
Board members Ponce, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Board member Lopez,
Present.
board member Steckline,
Here.
board member Pons,
Present.
and board member Hernandez and Sullivan both requested to be excused today. We do have a quorum. We also have Courtney Fuller from the College Place Prevention Coalition and Chief Tamaris from the College Place Police Department with us.
Thank you. We like to start off our meetings with a land acknowledgement, so I'll go ahead and read that as we can reflect and think about it. We want to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Confederate Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, including the Cayuse, Wallowal, and Umatilla people. Their stewardship of the land over generations is based on the belief that water was created first. Life and land were created next. Land promised to take care of all life, and all life promised to take care of the land. I attest, affirm, and acknowledge our responsibility to take care for the land, natural resources, and all people benefiting from their hard work. We come together today in the spirit of honoring their legacy. It is now time for the consent agenda. Today's consent agenda has the agenda for May 16th, the minutes from our November 15th meeting, which was the last meeting we had. Is that right? Okay. The excuse of absences of member Sullivan and Hernandez. Are there any corrections to the agenda or to the minutes? If not, is there a motion?
Motion approved.
You move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Is our next one action items?
Presentation.
Presentations, okay, perfect.
Ms. Fuller. I will allow her to share her screen.
Hello, everyone. Let me see what I can do here. Sometimes I'm good at this and sometimes I'm not. Always have to look for that bright green button that says share screen. Sorry, just 1 second. Does not want me to share my, can you see that? No. Can you see my slideshow?
No.
No.
No, I didn't think so. Okay. There we go. Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Maybe?
There we go.
Yes.
Oh, it took a second to come up. Okay. I don't do this very often over Zoom. I usually do this in person. So, hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Fuller. I am the semi-new coalition coordinator for our also semi-new College Place Prevention Coalition. Some of you may have heard of us, and I'm guessing most people have not. Krista Tim, who is my coworker and is apparently not here with me today, had a family emergency, so she's not going to be with me. But Krista started a coalition in 2020 and gathered a bunch of people from College Place to work on building a healthy and safe community in which we can all hope that we can prolong the non-use of alcohol, drugs, and tobacco in our youth. So really, we're trying to, why can't I talk? Sorry. We're really trying to make sure that kids are not smoking, drinking, doing drugs at all, in particular before the age of 21. So the history of CPWI, which is also known as College Place, sorry, I cannot speak, Community Prevention Wellness Initiative. I also have like 4 billion acronyms, so as you all might know. So the Community Prevention Wellness Initiative is held by the Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery, also known as DBHR, and they launched a program to provide substance abuse prevention services and strategies through different coalitions throughout the state of Washington. There are currently about 100 communities in all 9 educational service districts, and we are in Educational Service District 123. CPWI focuses on school-based models, so they're really trying to get to our youth to help prevent substance use. And they work in particular with our middle school and high school, so College Place for Sager and for high school there. We are and they are working to build healthy and safe community environments. We're expanding quality preventive services in clinical community and service settings and empowering people to make healthy choices, and also hoping to eliminate some health disparities. Obviously, that's a huge work in progress. In part of how we are implementing our system, we really looked at a healthy use survey, we've looked at community surveys, Washington State surveys, Wallowal County surveys, and in all of Washington, about 60 prevention programs and policies have been shown to actually work in preventing use or misuse of substance abuse. Between 2011 and 2016, there was a cohort number 1, and in that community, it showed improvements in all family and community risk factors. Evaluation results also showed a significant decrease in 10th grade substance use outcomes. Side note, 10th grade, most of our surveys are taken in 8th, 10th, and 12th grade. So, and obviously this is older data. So we have been looking at newer data. College Place does not have a ton. We are using some county data from Wallowal County on a whole. And we are hoping that we will have new 2020, 2022 data soon. Aside from that, looking at what we do have, it's been pretty much the same. So between 2011 and 2016, alcohol abuse and binge drinking was down 42% from where it had been previously. Cigarette use was down 49%, and marijuana use was down about 11%. Also, small caveat, last couple of years have been COVID, right? So we also know that mental health issues may be increased, and we'll look at that in just a second as well. So also 95% of programs implemented between July 2015 and June 2016 also had positive results in delaying the first use of alcohol or other drugs, reducing use, decreasing risk factors, or increasing protective factors. Decreasing risk factors are something like homelessness or poor grades or low economic background, those types of things. Protective factors would be a solid home base, in school all the time. Maybe they've got church, really involved in other things. And this is all done by Washington State University. And if you would ever like a ton of information on prevention, the athenaforum.org is very, very handy for all kinds of information there. So in 2020, Krista started, she is an intern, and she started with some of the managers at the Healthcare Authority with Washington State. And I'm sorry that she's not here to give her super powerful and incredible speech, because she, if you don't know already, Peggy Needham is our Reach Out Walla Walla person. I see noddings of heads. Everybody knows Peggy Needham. So So does everybody at HCA and DBHR. And Krista said, who's this person? I want to go learn from her. So Krista, out of everybody, took Peggy Needham out of the hat and said, I want to go to Wallowal and learn from her. So Krista had such an incredible mentor in Peggy that Peggy was able to help Krista pull together a bunch of different people from College Place and began a coalition. Chief Tamaris probably can add in early things because he's been there for the whole thing, I believe, since day one. So Krista started building capacity. She has been pulling together meetings, and COVID's been a problem. Kids haven't been in school as much, and we haven't had any money. But in 2021, excuse me, we got some money, and we got funding of $220,000 for College Place for the Cpwi, and for what we've also called it now, College Place Prevention Coalition, CPPC. So I'm switching us from CPWI, College Place, to CPPC as we're getting to know it. As Krista formed the coalition, she began to pull in the key leaders, and they started to look at data. And their big mission was to decrease substance use through education and through empowering our community to make healthy decisions. At that point in time, she gathered a ton of different people, as I said earlier. And so we do have sectors with youth, with parents, with law enforcement, with different businesses, healthcare professionals, media, youth serving organizations, a bunch of people. I know you can all see these too. We've also been working with Trilogy, and we are starting to work more with Sunbridge and with Alex there as their new youth recreation person. We've also started working more with the College Place Middle School SAP, which is Student Assistance Professional, and her name is Brittany, and she is now working in partnership with us to bring programs and prevention information to the middle school, and then also working with Gabby and Lucinda and some others in the high school as well. So again, some of the data that I have is a little bit on the older side. And I also must apologize, we do surveys in 6, 8, 10, and 12 grades. So at least we can follow that cohort through. So in 2018, 23% of sixth graders had accessibility to drugs. And this is in our area. 38% of sixth graders believe laws and norms are favorable to drug use. 54% of eighth graders are at risk for using drugs. 37% have favorable attitudes toward drug use. 31% of eighth graders have friends who use drugs, and 21% of eighth graders have early initiation of drug use. Well, we thought that was kind of a big deal. So we thought, well, let's gather all of our data. And these are the three things that we have either come up with looking as our priorities, or we are mandated because of our grant to put in. So Chief Tamaris, if you're looking at those going, how did we decide on those? That's part of it as well. So the priorities of the College Place Prevention Coalition, full transparency, College Place Prevention Coalition are one, working on any underage alcohol use. So the caveat here is that it's not that we don't want people to ever touch alcohol, to ever do anything. It's really that we just want people to understand and be educated as to what alcohol is and what it can do, in particular to a young brain. So we live in Wallowal County. There's a lot of wineries around. We're not trying to say close down the wineries. We just want kids to wait and understand how they are developing and what the risks are of using. Number two is vaping use. Through more recent data and through anecdotal information, we have been finding that vaping use, both tobacco and marijuana, is increasing quite a bit. And so we would like to look at some of that. And then number three, and this is part of our grant, is that we have to look at opioid and prescription use. Have to, also really want to. If you're not already aware, we have a bit of a fentanyl crisis. There's a bit of an opioid crisis out there. So we are at least trying to get education out to people to understand the risks of using other people's prescription medications, of accepting prescriptions from doctors. Again, not saying they can't, just to be aware of what's happening and how much risk there can be if misused. So some of the local conditions or risk factors and protective factors include community disorganization, which I think is a little bit funny. It's not really that we're disorganized, it's more that we could be more ready to accept more education and understanding that there may be an issue in our community. And that sometimes is very difficult. So we don't want to push anything. We just want to make sure that we're giving factual information and that we're being fully transparent with the information we have. Also looking at social access and alcohol availability. College Place, we don't have a ton of people who are, mini marts and things on the corners, convenience stores that are selling a lot of alcohol. Again, we do have, however, a lot of alcohol in our community, whether it be at after school events, parties on weekends, parents, wineries, all that kind of stuff. So again, just understanding what alcohol can do. Also looking at perception of enforcement of ATOD laws and policies, so alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And then looking at favorable attitudes, this kind of goes back to availability, is how many people come home and have a drink after work, or how many people have a drink on the weekend. How many of us, have that around kids every once in a while. So just kind of looking at those perceptions, I guess, from the kids to us. And then also looking at family management. How can we increase cohesiveness and family togetherness? So things like strengthening families and some other programs. And so what are we doing about these? As just mentioned, we are looking at classes such as strengthening families. We're also looking at bringing some other classes and trainings into College Place. I guess I should state that this is College Place specific. So Wallowal has their own community prevention wellness initiative, which is Reach Out. So College Place now has their own as well. Now we can all work together, but this is for College Place community residents. So it's not what I want as a coalition coordinator, it's what you all want as a coalition, as a community, in terms of if you would like more education, if you would like trainings, what kinds of activities do you want to see in your community? Are there outreach events you would like to be doing? Are there more block parties? Do we want more community fun days? How can I reach out to you and work with you and with other community organizations to really pull together the community and provide what the kiddos want and young adults? Then we're also looking at perception of harm. So again, kind of between now, kids the age of 21 in particular, what harm is there in drinking? What harm is there in smoking marijuana? What harm is there in doing those things and driving? And then also, again, what do the youth really want here? We constantly hear anecdotal things of, there's nothing to do in College Place. There's nothing to do in Walla Walla. I'm bored. My parents are home at 8. I've got nothing to do. What do you want to do? And then where does that go from there? So my big thing is, how do we include our youth, right? It's a youth coalition, and we really need those youth to really bring information in so that we can help them. And then again, collaborating with other youth serving organizations. So at this point in time, here in 2022, we now have $220,000. Troy, you may find this is very exciting. We now have a budget that has been approved, and we have action items that we have been approved on as well. So we are moving forward, and for the coalition, we'll talk a little bit more about that in our next meeting about what's actually been approved. But we have money to start programs, and we have money to do things in the community, and I'm beyond excited about it. So if there's anyone that you would like to have partner with us, if you think of great things that you'd like to do, I will also mention that we are doing everything we possibly can to do everything in English and in Spanish. And we are also including Vista Hermosa in College Place, even though I think they're technically Walla Walla. So they're a large part of our population of people as well. So we're really just trying to reach everyone, trying to put our names out there, trying to figure out what the community wants and how we can best partner. So my information, again, I'm Courtney. I work for the Department of Community Health, and my email address is here, and also Krista's in case you would like to get a hold of her too. And thanks for bearing with me on my presentation. It's been a little while. I'm a little rusty, so sorry for the bit. And CPWI always gets me. Community Prevention, see, I did it again. Community Prevention Wellness Initiative. So thank you, everyone. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah.
I see that you're working with Blue Zones. David and I, a couple of folks here are very heavily, oh yeah, look at you guys.
Here's my shirt.
Water bottle.
Nice.
What are some things that are currently in the plans for that kind of partnership?
Interestingly, we're kind of doing a bunch of different things. So Krista has moved from the Community Prevention Wellness Initiative to the Youth Marijuana Prevention, which is also known as YEMPEP, or now being acronyms, I tell you, also now being moved to YCCTPP, which is really fun. So, and it's the Marijuana Coalition for the state of Washington. So between her and me and Peggy and Blue Zones and Chief Tamaris and Mike Rizzatello and some others, one of the big things I cannot take credit for, but it is part of the coalition as well, is getting no vaping, no smoking signs in the schools and in the parks. I would say that's the number one big thing for our partnership together. Again, I can't take credit, but Krista definitely can. It was a CPWI thing. So that was our number one. The second thing I'd say that's really big for us right now is working to try and find a way to have non-smoking areas at the Wallowal Fairgrounds. And I know this isn't College Place specific, but we have a lot of residents and community members who go. So that'll be something that we work on as well. Even if it's not the entire fairgrounds, maybe it's the kids zone or it's the vendor booths or it's something. So that's probably one of the big ones that Blue Zone is that we're working with Blue Zone's project right now. And who knows what'll come from that. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
Courtney, it's David. Great presentation. Thank you for the information, all you're doing. I'm curious, you mentioned a lot of statistics from 2016. And what trends or what things are you seeing? You mentioned a little bit about mental health, but is it an increase in issue here with alcohol and smoking? Or is it getting better?
It seems that in College Place and in Wallowal County, our vaping use has been increasing. I'm not positive it's just vaping use, so it hasn't necessarily been broken down into marijuana or tobacco, but that's something that everybody seems to be really concentrating on right now. So it's just a big, big thing. Also because it can be smokeless and you can hide it and it's happening in the schools, right? And it's all over the place. So vaping has increased. Again, I don't know if that is tobacco or marijuana in particular. The unfortunate, well, I'll go here first. So smoking tobacco and smoking of marijuana don't seem to have moved very much. There's a little bit of, point difference here and there, but it's not that much. What has seemed to have moved, unfortunately, is the depression and anxiety. And that seems to have increased a tremendous amount. And so that's something that as a coalition, as College Place, as Department of Health, is that we are looking really hard at how can we increase access to mental health resources, how can we give stress reduction, how can we be there to support each other, how do we talk about it in the schools, how do we talk about it with families, what does it mean to have that depression, that anxiety, and how does that maybe lead to substance abuse or substance misuse. And so I think that's really the bigger one to answer David's question. I think it's more that part of it. Unfortunately, as well, in 2020, College Place was not able to take the Healthy Youth Survey, which was a big part of our data. And so we don't have solid numbers from that. So we'll be using Wallowal County numbers for those. And that also shows an increase in depression and anxiety.
But second question would be more for Chief Tamaris. It seems like in one of our presentations, you mentioned a restriction, if you will, in confronting minors. And so is this kind of your strategic plan in saying, well, let's, instead of catching in the act, let's stop it early on? Is that kind of the idea, or how does this fit in with your plan?
Yeah, so great catch on that. So yeah, the legislators made some changes last July 25th, that law enforcement is mandatory to have a youth who is being investigated for a crime, that they have immediate access to counsel before we talk to them, which is really difficult to intervene. We'll go over in my presentation here a little bit, our school resource officer and the difficulties he's having with that as a result of that, where in the past, it would be easier to have a conversation and try to resolve an issue. But now, unfortunately, you either ignore it or you file charges on these kids. And we want to mitigate these incidents, of course. So that's tough. The other decision that has been really tough is the Blake decision. So misdemeanor or personal use drugs. And we're not allowed to arrest until their third offense. So that's also a difficult thing that's really made it difficult. But we're actually in partnership with, and by the way, Courtney is amazing. Her and Krista are just fantastic for this program. I've been a part of this since day one with Krista. Very excited with this. Our youth need us, not just the people on the coalition, but they need you. They need people in the community. Even if they don't have kids, we need adults looking out for our youth. Our youth are not just our future, they are part of our community right now. So we want to protect them from making those poor decisions and having some doors closed for them and making their life a little harder. Courtney and her team, and I'm grateful to be part of it. We are doing everything we can to come up with some strategies and trying to implement some strategies to reduce those harms to our kids. So
I do want to add on to that, Chief Tamaris, as well, is that we haven't actually decided on anything yet. So if you have ideas, feel free to throw them our way.
Yeah.
Again, it's a coalition decision. So we'll be looking at more and more in the next couple of years of now and then going forward. What else can we do? So really happy to be a part, and College Place is very excited, it seems like. So thank you.
Yeah.
Courtney, one thing that comes to mind, I'll just throw it out there and you can take it and run with it or not. But I recently have been coaching soccer for the Wallowal and Parks and Rec. And I'll tell you, by the end of that season, those kids look up to me like anybody. So if you can empower the coaches, there's over 100 coaches and 1,000 kids that are connected there each time. So I would have loved to have some talking points or some sort of information as a coach to be able to help you through. But I think that's another way that you could reach a lot of kids.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Great idea.
Just wanted to quickly note for the record that Board Member Sullivan has joined us.
Thank you for being here. I know you're recovering. I appreciate it. If there are no other questions for Courtney, we can move on. We have another presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Courtney.
Oh, okay, so now it's action items? Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, so now it's time for action items. We'll begin with the review of wording for a proclamation for Juneteenth. And I can do this from far away. So this was added online. If you could zoom in, thank you, Lisa. Oh, my eyes, thank you greatly. So this is the Juneteenth proclamation draft. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation declaring that all enslaved persons in the Confederate States in rebellion free as of January 1st, 1863, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, which formally ended slavery in the nation. And whereas news of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed for 2.5 years to June 119.
But that's a typo.
That's a typo, right? Okay, so that should be 19th. 1865 in Galveston, Texas, when U.S. General Gordon Granger read General Order Number 3, announcing the total abolishment of slavery. And whereas the June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas the African American community in the city of College Place have made significant contributions to the history and quality of life within the city, Wallowal Valley, state, and nation. And now therefore, Norma Hernandez, Mayor of College Place, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth Day in the city of College Place, Washington, and urge all residents to become more aware of the significance of the celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation, valley, and city. Given under my hand and seal as mayor of the city of College Place, Washington, this 14th day of June 2022. So
Which
that
is
is
the next council meeting.
June 14th is the next council meeting. Besides the typo, was there any other additions or kind of comments about? So basically what we do in this meeting is we can suggest, right? Is that the right word? Suggest that there's something be changed, and then the mayor can take that into consideration, and then it can be formalized. So we're an advisory board in that sense. Does anybody have anything? I do want to want the mayor to, or the proclamation to include that June 19th is a federal holiday, or sorry, state. Is that right?
I believe it's federal.
Is it federal? Okay, so I think that's significant because this is the first year ever that it will be a federal holiday. So June 19th, 2022 is the first ever federal holiday. I would like that to be included. I don't want to be talking the whole thing, but I do have some feelings. I didn't like the wording of it's an African American history. Is that what it said? It's American history. I don't know. That's my thought. It's part of the Americas. It's part of American history. Maybe.
I agree with you on that one. It just kind of threw me off when you say African American community. It should be a celebration of all people.
Change
And
that
all of
to
the-
American. Change that to American
Well,
in all places.
should it be American or all people? What do you like? What do you think makes sense?
I think American is fine. We're Americans. And that's what it should be.
Okay,
Which part are you talking about?
so
It's several places.
where it has
in
a
here.
special meaning to African Americans and it's called Juneteenth. It does have a special meaning to African Americans, but
Those I think are fine, but I think when you look down,
One here.
that one right there.
that one, yes,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
American
this one.
history.
Yeah.
American history at the end.
Okay.
Just so it doesn't differentiate like two different things. Is everyone in accordance with that, or?
We're just talking about the last.
Yeah.
Kind of line. Yeah, I think that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Do you have another thought?
No, I like the idea of broadening it. I just, when you say America, like I know in Central America, they
Oh.
consider themselves Americans too, from that perspective. So I don't know if there's a better word
An
than just
American?
America.
Celebration of American history,
Yeah, I mean, it's really
continental
fun.
United States.
No, it's, I don't know. It's-
Hey, good
U.S.
check.
American history?
there you go.
There you go, US.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It was great to
Okay.
have you.
So I will strike African, add US,
US American history.
add language about
US,
the federal holiday
yes,
and fix the typo.
yes, those are the three things.
Mhm.
And then I think, oh, we do have to make a motion, huh?
You do have to make a motion, but you can, and
You just said.
so it's, let me.
Mm.
So you can just choose revised in the language there.
Okay. Got it. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve a revised version of this?
I'll make a motion to to approve the revised version of the Juneteenth 2022 proclamation proposal.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second, okay. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Got it. And all opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, there's another proclamation, or is it a proclamation? Yes. So June is a very busy month. June is also Pride Month and LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And I would like to read that now. Thank you. Whereas the City of College Place is committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and mutual respect as a fundamental aspect of a health community. And whereas the presence, visibility, and celebration of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, plus community enhances the quality of life in the City of College Place. And whereas the LGBTQIA community or plus community has been the target of discrimination and violence based on gender, sexual orientation, identity, and perceived identity, which conflicts with the core values as a community. And whereas LGBTQIA plus rights are human rights, and no person should be judged by anything but the content of their character. And whereas the City of College Place strives to be a welcoming and safe place where people, families, and institutions thrive, and the contributions of all are celebrated and valued. Now, therefore, I, Norma Hernandez, Mayor of College Place, City of College Place, Washington, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBT plus Pride Month, QIA, why did I skip letters? LGBTQIA plus Pride Month, given under my hand and seal as mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, on this 14th day of June 2022, which is the next city council meeting. I think I saw a typo.
Oh,
The first one, it says respect as fundamental aspect of a healthy community. There's a Y that needs to be there. Does anybody have any additions or any changes that they see? The whereas, 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas, I would like to suggest that we take the second part out. So it says, whereas LGBTQIA plus rights are human rights. I think that's a strong statement and should be stated on its own. And then when you go on to say, and no person should be judged by anything but the content of their character, I feel like it loses something.
okay, so do you want that completely struck, or do you want that in its own whereas clause? Because it can be done.
It's
either way.
unnecessary to say. So I say strike it.
Strike it.
I agree with strike. Yeah.
I do it.
Okay, I appreciate that, yeah.
It's like an invitation to judge them.
Exactly, that's what I read too. No, that's why we're here to provide some guidance in how we read it, so. Okay, with that being stricken, that's all I saw. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the revised version of that proclamation. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve it.
Okay. We have a motion, and do we have a second? Does anybody want to second the motion? To approve?
I can second.
Okay, David, thank you. David Lopez, seconds. All in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Say nay. Okay. The ayes have it, so we have approved that. Now it's time for reports, but we can go in a different order, right?
We can go in a different order, so why don't we let Chief Tamaras go first?
That sounds good. Thank you for being here, Chief. It's all yours.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me. Let me get my screen popped up. Okay, so what I've done today for y'all is I've got it said operations plan in the agenda, but it's actually our annual report and our bias report combined. I do have my operations plan. If you want to look at that, it's online. Incidentally, all three, the annual report, the operations plan, and the bias report are on the police department's website. On the first page, you can download those and look at those even closer if you wish. So, all right, so let's get going here. So some of this will be recap for some of you and some may be new. So mission of the College Place Police Department embraces the philosophy of community-oriented policing and strives to enhance the quality of life and safety of our citizens with the highest degree of ethical behavior, fairness, and professional conduct. Our vision is to ensure that the city of College Place is a safe place to live, work, and do business through the delivery of quality law enforcement services. Our values: every member of the College Place Police Department is part of a team who inculcates courage, commitment, community, and character in their daily operations through open and honest cooperation, service, respect, and diversity. So courage, moral and ethical desire to act in the face of danger or adversity. Commitment is the dedication to the department, professional policing, and those we serve. Community is respecting and protecting individual rights while fostering relationships with whom we are called to serve. And character, performing with integrity while demonstrating strength to uphold and instill pride, honor, and a call to public service. All right, so we have 4 goals, and our operations plan breaks this down even further if you'd like to look at that. But our first goal is to reduce crime and improve traffic safety within our community. Our goal 2 is to provide quality services and innovative policing strategies delivered through excellent customer service. Goal 3 is to provide leadership and resources to attract, retain, and foster safe, ethical, innovative, and knowledgeable and diverse workforce. And goal 4 is to work collaboratively with our stakeholders to improve the quality of life within our city. And I'm going to take a timeout because my dog is begging to get out. So I apologize.
No worries, Chief.
All right, she would have started barking. This is our organizational chart and shows our staff for 2021. We have actually snuck in Kyle Barker down there. He's our officer in training and he is at the academy right now. Officer Joey Langlois, who has been our SRO for the last 3.5 years, he is going to be a detective assigned to the new Wallowal Community Drug Task Force. We're really excited for that, and that is brand new to our region. And then Andrew Shield is going to take over as the new school resource officer. So we're very excited for that as well. We had 2 new hires in 2021, Officer Brandon Rhodes and Officer Josh Jackson. This is Marianne and Andrea. These are our clerks. We also have a vacancy right now of a part-time clerk that we'll be recruiting for here very soon. And what we've done here is we've broken down some of the things that they do, number of fingerprints. It's up considerably. Now, some of these numbers that have changed so much because of COVID. In 2019, 2020, it dropped off so much because sometimes the office hours weren't open or people just didn't come in. So we're seeing a big trend in increase in that in 2021. And then even more so this year. So a number of CPL is concealed pistol license. They processed 18%, almost 19% more this last year. And our public disclosure requests were up, and our dog licenses were down a little bit. Now they were up really high in 2019, 2020. Everybody was out getting a dog when they were stuck home during the pandemic. And so we had a lot of new dogs, a lot of new licenses during that time. Okay. This is our patrolled slide, and we have 2 new sergeants in 2021, Sergeant Sal Diaz and Sergeant Dylan Schmick. They both were promoted to sergeant in November, and we're really excited to have both of them as our new sergeants. And we're looking at some stats here below in the blue. And if you look at 2021, we were down in arrests overall, and crime in general, and most of our stuff throughout this theme you're going to see is way down this year, which is great for our community. Cases were down almost 5%. The number of incidents or calls for service down about 10%. Tickets were slightly down, just 2%, pretty consistent with 2020, just off by 10. And then our traffic stops were down just a little bit, but we had a lot of transitions with people taking in new roles and some training going on. So I think that was a big factor in that. Here's a slide showing some of the awards that we were giving our officers this year. So Officer Jimmy Duty was the Masons Officer of the Year. And Officer Daniel Watkins was our top DUI officer for the 3rd year in a row. So we're really proud of the work that each one of them are doing, as all of the officers in the College Police Department doing an exceptional job. Did I hear a question? No. This is Detective Brian Fortin. This is our investigation slide. And in 2021, slightly down in cases. We had a little slower cases cleared, but we had some really big cases. One of the pictures of a big case was the armed robbery at GameStop, and actually most recent here just this year. So I kind of snuck that photo in on a 2021 presentation, but it kind of shows you some of the things that are happening here. Incidentally, we have identified that individual, and we're getting ready to send charges forward to the prosecutor. So we're really excited about the work that Brian is doing as our detective. We've added a few other things that Brian spends a lot of time with. So he's either completed or assisted officers with 13 search warrants. He is also a member of the Special Investigative Unit, and he teams up with commanders and investigators out of Tri-Cities. If there's an officer involved shooting, he will respond to those investigations and assist with those investigations. So his skill set and special training is really superb. And of course, we assist other agencies. From time to time, we will do criminal investigations for them, or sometimes we do internal affairs investigations. Sometimes they just need an extra body. So we will assist with those types of investigations. I've asked Brian to track that as well. This is our school resource officer page. That's Officer Langlois. And I know Mr. Pons is going to miss him across the hallway. I know that they have a great friendship and just great things that have happened down there with Joey. So that's what all the kids call him, is Officer Joey. So in 2021, a lot of increases for him because there was a lot of remote learning during 2019 and 2020. Now you're going to see like criminal investigations are up. CPS referrals are about the same. So child protective services would happen when there is, we're mandatory reporters. So any kind of abuse or whether it be physical or sexual, that needs to be reported to CPS. And then charges filed, an increase. And this is kind of what I was hitting on earlier. Now that we can't just go up to kids and try to mitigate things and try to get that done. We are charges and letting the courts or JJC, which is the Juvenile Justice Center, work some of those things out. And then those are the hours below are training hours. Those are hours that Joey provides kids or the staff as part of his duties as a school resource officer. So I've asked him to start tracking his hours for training. So just doing a great job. We're going to miss having him down there. It's time for him to move on, but he's done an exceptional job as our school resource officer. We're very proud of him. This is our special enforcement officer, Ron Nordman. In 2021, he was up with code enforcement investigations. Those are things like weeds, branches hanging out over sidewalks or houses, broken down cars in the front yard, these types of things. Those are code enforcement investigations. Animal calls are pretty consistent across the years, actually. It is down slightly from 2020. We had an increase in 2020, which was an anomaly. And then parking violations. So he is very busy with parking violations. And David, I know you'll appreciate this. He gets a lot of work there around the university. This is our professional standards. This is our IA, internal investigations tracking. And I want you to know, you'll be very proud to know, this is our second year without a single external complaint from a citizen, 2 years in a row now. And we're very proud of that. The majority of these IA cases are internal. And in 2020 and in 2021, they were internal. And so it could be lost equipment or you back into a car, these types of things. We do an internal investigation. So we have unfounded, exonerated, not sustained, and sustained as the categories. We had one internal incident. This is our crime and traffic statistics. This is a breakdown of our general activity. If you look at the orange column in the middle of the screen for 2021, you'll see, for the most part, everything is down, which is really exciting for our community, where you're seeing a lot of cities across the state and across the country, crime increase. We've actually seen a decrease in a lot of our crime, which is really great. So we had 36 burglaries, so it's down 12%. Thefts have come down a little bit, 24%. Collisions are down, which I'm very happy about. We're out there doing some traffic enforcement. I hope that is making a difference. It appears it is. Now our DUI activity is down. It's down across the state. And we think that a lot of that has to still be part of the whole trickle of COVID. People aren't going out as much. In 2022, it seems to like it might be picking up slightly. So we'll see how that trends out at the end of the year. Narcotics arrests are significantly down because of the Blake decision, where we're still making contact with people on personal use. Just we are unable to charge them with a crime until the third offense. We do have a system in place now to track that. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the state, it will you can go into a statewide sector system and record the contact. So if you commit 2 violations of Bremerton, you come over to the Wallowal Valley for spring release. At that point, we can, at that third personal use, we can charge you at that time. Typically, they're a citation, not very many physical custody. We can still charge for felony drug possession, just not personal use. Narcotics arrest, yes. Traffic stops down slightly. Again, I think it has a lot to do with a lot of people changing roles and positions and a lot of training going on with new people. Warrant apprehension is up significantly, and this is one of my frustrations I will share with you. I believe there's 361 outstanding warrants in the city of College Place alone right now. But here's the frustration. A lot of these people are being arrested. They go to jail. They get arraigned the next morning. The judge gives them a court date. They get released, and then they don't show up for the court date. And then another warrant gets issued for their arrest. And it's very cyclical. We're arresting the same people over and over again because they keep pushing out these dates. And I'm sure COVID had something to do with a lot of that, but this is just really a pattern that we're seeing in our criminal justice system in our community. And we're trying to work with especially the district court level to have some accountability with some of these warrants, because every time we have to arrest someone, there's that slight chance someone's going to get hurt. And we don't want that. So we're trying to mitigate that and minimize that as much as possible. So working on trying to get those numbers down and keeping them down. Motor vehicle thefts are up slightly, and that is a trend occurring across the state. I remember when I first got here in 2017, we had 41 stolen cars, and we did a public safety campaign out there letting people know that they can't keep their keys on the dashboard in College Place anymore. The times have changed, and that seemed to help. But for some reason, we're trending back up again. The majority of our stolen thefts are it's a convenience. They don't want to walk. They see a car, they see it's available. Someone goes outside to warm up the car, they run back inside their house, they grab it and they take off. So we want to try to get people not to do that. And then vehicle prowls are down quite a bit, which is great. We also think that had a lot to do with some of the remote learning that occurred at the university, because a lot of our vehicle prowls do occur on campus or around campus. And shoplifting is up slightly. Domestic violence for the third year in a row continues to drop, which we're very excited about. And that's a great trend that we'd like to see. And then, of course, other assaults are down 58%. So that'd be fights and things like that. So any questions on any of the annual report information? Okay, I'm going to get right into the bias report. And why do we do the bias report? Well, there's an RCW that tells us to do it. Now, I am not required to publish a bias report. I just take that extra step. I've done that since I've been here in 2017. I want to be very transparent. And I think it's important for people to look and see what we're doing. So I do publish the bias report. It's on our website, and I like to report on it and share it with people. So we do have a policy. It's Lexapol 402. That's our policy on bias-based policing. We have a complaint process, and we receive complaints in person or online. We have supervision and review, accountability. We have, as you know, for a year now, we've had, well, not quite a year, almost a year, we've had body-worn cameras, and those have been exceptional. Great tool. And then, of course, we review the body-worn cameras from time to time, and then we do a yearly analysis of the data. We've also participated in training and discussion. If there's a major incident that occurs, we show the video at our patrol meetings. We discuss what happened and how we can prevent those types of things from happening in our community. We did a webinar with Dr. Marks and on bias, and it was through a grant. And in fact, every law enforcement officer in the county was able to participate in that webinar. It was really good. Okay, so we're going to get right into enforcement. So in 2021, there was 309 infractions issued for traffic violations. And the RCW specifically talks about reporting on traffic, not other events, just traffic, but we're going to get into some other stuff too. So as you can see here, I've broken it down by the national standards, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian Pacific Islander, Black, Hispanic, Latino. You'll be happy to see that we have the unknowns down to 0. And for 2 years in a row, we're happy about that. And then everything is consistent right along the line of our geography, in not only in College Place, but the county and across the state. And if you download the complete bias report, it shows the demographics, including the 2020 census information. So looking really good. And this is where I kind of mentioned also that These numbers are not independent individuals, and they're not necessarily College Place residents. They could be from Milton Freewater, Wallowal County, or the city of Walla Walla coming over to Walmart or whatever, coming through the city, and they're stopped for a traffic violation. And it could be the same person 3 or 4 times. I don't know. It doesn't break it down by just an individual. All right, I'm going to move on to citations. Now, citations are criminal traffic. Now, these are misdemeanors. Again, we had 106 traffic misdemeanors, and that is your DUIs, your suspendeds. Those are the majority of the traffic misdemeanors. So, and again, it's broken down by each race, and you can see the numbers right there. Again, also consistent with the demographics of our community. So that's exactly what we're looking for. I also included in this slide, this is criminal non-traffic. This is not part of the RCW requirement, but I had the data, so I wanted to share it with you. This would be non-traffic, so this would be like theft thirds, domestic violence, misdemeanor assault, these types of violations. And that is also, we had 164 different criminal non-traffic misdemeanor violations in 2021. And it's also broken down by category there for you to look at. Again, everything is pretty consistent with what we'd expect. And again, this could be, you could have American Indian, Alaska Native, there's 2, that could be the same person arrested twice during the year. So it's not individual or exclusive to individuals. All right, that is the end of the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Good presentation.
I think it was pretty comprehensive. I think. Thank you for providing that information to our community so we're able to access it and have that. Okay. We can move on to our next report. We're going to go back one and invite Mike Rizzatello to talk about community updates, community events.
Oh, okay.
Community events, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry for being late, but I was on a community land trust meeting the same time as this. So we are getting into the summer season. So with that, there are a number of community events coming up. Biggest one is the farmers market. So that will be the last Thursday of this month, May 26th. Yeah, from 4 to 7 p.m. And there's basically like dual and events going on at the same park. So farmers market, and then there's also a community resource fair. And basically organizations and agencies that provide services to College Place residents will have a booth there. And they'll be adjacent to farmers market, so 4 to 7 p.m. So that's going on a couple weeks after fact, and it'll be going on same time as the farmers market, the Sager Middle School.
1 week after.
Oh, 1 week after. Sager Middle School, the PTA, they'll be having a carnival that'll be synonymous with the farmers market, and they'll be on Thursday as well, 4 to 7 p.m. Also, the Freedom Festival, that is coming back this year, barring any severe heat spells or fire danger or both. So as long as the weather stays like it is currently, we should be able to have it. So that'll be Sunday, July 3rd, down at the campus of College Place High School. Once again, we'll have fireworks, vendors, food, and then we also did the band get finalized.
Shank's
Yeah.
Pony is finalized.
Yep.
heard it here for the first time.
Yep. And thanks to Desiree, because she was able to secure them the last minute. So yeah, they'll be coming up July 3rd. And then also throughout the summer, there'll be a flyer comes out, but Blue Zones, they're working with us to hold various movies at the park as well. So that'll be coming back as well.
There's a lot going on. Did anybody have any questions, comments? I did want to find out how, for the farmer's market, I see there's entertainment piece, right?
Yep.
There's like a musical piece. I was wondering how you select them, and are they paid or? do
They are
volunteer?
paid.
Okay,
And it's kind of, we put a request out for people to apply at the beginning of the season. And it's just conversations with those people who communicate with us. And we typically ask for, either we've heard them before, like a lot of these have played before for us. If they haven't played before, we check out their YouTube, their Facebook, get recommendations from other people, that sort of thing.
yeah.
So,
The reason I ask is more for diversity reasons, diversity inclusion, just to see the type of music. I see that it's a couple of the same people, and that's probably, you know.
and they were more available. I know that Jesse Campos is going to be performing
Okay,
on the first day, and then there's several other dates that his band is playing.
awesome.
So that helps, but yeah, it's kind of, we cast a wide net, and it's who communicates with us and it works out with their schedule, and that they're willing, because we don't pay a lot,
Yes.
so
right.
they have to be willing to take a little amount of money, and then we allow them to, if they've got CDs, they can put CDs out for sale, they can put a tip jar out, that sort of thing, so.
No, I appreciate you making note of that, and I think that when it comes to advertising those type of things, those might be, you know, what type of music they play, and not just like, for me, an assumption of, I don't know what type of music they play, but I enjoy going to the market just to walk around and people watch and get some good food. But also I think the music aspect could be a part of it, to invite people from.
And
different cultures.
Sherry's working on an entertainment schedule
Okay,
to put out. So I'll ask her to put like a genre of music on that as well.
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike, I know that the little bit of feedback I've gotten, that the community agencies are really excited about being invited to be part of it, so
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. but,
Yeah, that'll be
It
great.
could be nice to see.
And yeah, our Whitman fellow Mark Anthony's done a
He's done a
great
great
job
job.
getting that together, and they'll be the inaugural run of that. Basically, it's like a block party except combined with a farmer's market in Lions Park, so.
Be nice. I'm curious, Mike, how the renovations of Lions Park is gonna affect some of the others.
This year it won't. It's gonna be very heavy construction next year. We
Next year.
were hoping to start this year. However, one of the grants is passed through federal money, and as such, that means we have to do an entire NEPA report for the park, which is the National Environmental Policy Act, which is probably gonna delay us until the fall, winter time, actually start breaking ground on that. But it'll be very intensive construction next year.
So we're kind of hoping, as far as the farm market, at least my hope
Mhm.
is that maybe we might have to start here in the parking lot, but by the time it gets hot, we hope we can move to the park
For
So-
2023.
for
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2022, we're in the park the whole season. That's great. So,
This is Courtney. I just wanted to add in quick that my entire office and everybody else I've talked to is very excited about the farmers market as well, and the quote unquote block party and just celebration. So nice work to everybody putting things together. I know it's been a lot. Very
and we're
excited.
really happy about that block party and the Sager carnival, both because they're on the first 2 weeks. one
Yeah.
right after the other, and they're gonna bring a lot more people in, and we hope to get those people to come back to the market every week then, so.
How exciting.
That's great. Thank you. Our next report is Mr. Rizzatello on staff recruitment.
Okay, thank you. I'll briefly cover this. Our human resource manager, Sean, will provide a more intensive analysis next meeting, but she's on vacation this week. I think it's important to bring to your attention that there's several positions available. So how we recruit is we put both out English and Spanish on the governmentjobs.com, and then it goes in the union bulletin as well. And then at random times throughout the recruitment period, it gets put out on our social media channels as well. The positions that are available right now is building inspector, so we do have a vacancy there. We have a vacancy in the public works department as well. And then since city council adopted the ambulance utility to help make sure we have a second staffer for when we get the duplicative ambulance calls that are at the same time, we'll be hiring an additional 4 firefighter EMS positions as well. Because that ambulance utility wasn't meant to backfill the staff and we had it was they add new staff just because of the insane amount of call volumes. The past 2 years, each year we've had over 20% increase in fire and EMS calls. So it's adding staff, so that when ambulances out and we get another call, we can send that second ambulance out because most of our fire department, like City of Wallowal, is actually staffed by volunteers. So that's why we were in such a critical moment there. But yeah, those are recruitments out right now. It's on governmentjobs.com. Please spread the word.
Thank you. Okay. The next portion, we're almost there, folks. The discussion on the diversity and inclusion roadmap. So I can start it off and see if you can add anything. So there are other, or actually you included the PDFs and stuff like that. I was just kind of thinking of the advisory board, and if we needed to move forward in a strategic way and to plan along, make sure that we are reaching our goals. And so I was taking a look at what other cities did. And I also mentioned, because Mr. Rizzatello had come, you lived in Beaverton? Or?
I worked for City of Beaverton.
Okay, worked for Beaverton, so there was that. I wanted to see what those plans look like and if that would be a way that we can move forward. And I did have a conversation with some, the Tri-Cities Diversity Inclusion Council. They're a nonprofit, but they have some consulting where they help individuals or businesses, nonprofits with the roadmap. And they do it on a very, what's it called? A very personal basis, or a very, it's tailored. Yes, that's a good word. Tailored. It's not a cookie cutter. It's like they meet with you and they have it according to what you need and your needs. So this was just a discussion as far as, you know, does anybody have any questions? Do we think that's the right way for us to move forward?
I don't think we're ready to help other organizations yet, but I'd love to get to that point. That'd be really cool.
Well, I see that more as us, like doing
I
the,
see.
us as a
Go through a training.
not a training. I think for us to devise a plan internally,
Like a strategic.
like a strategic plan
I'm with it.
to help with the city would be included in
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And things like that, it would be in that. Maybe you can add.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the examples, like the Beaverton one, and then there's also a good one for City of Kirkland. It essentially has refined goals and then essentially objectives and steps of things to achieve. And Basically just to bring a little more, I would say, focus to what we're doing. It's a more defined but brief roadmap. So that's why we brought that before you today, just to take a gander at those other options and see if that's something we did want to work toward, exploring in the greater depth of future meetings.
Thank you. The last thing, I believe, or one of the last things is, are there any updates from members on, oh, actually, this is the interesting one because y'all are here. But I just wanted to bring us all back together and see if there are better meeting times or discussion. I'd love to have us all here, and especially now that we have the hybrid option, you're able to either come here and be there. I'm not sure how long the hybrid option is going to be.
Always.
Always.
It's the legislature implemented it. It is now going to be this way always.
It is going to be this way always. Okay, thank you. So with that being said, do Mondays at 4:30 every quarterly? So we meet 4 times a year, right? Does that work for folks? I know there were some unscheduled, or some, I'm sorry, some scheduled things where folks couldn't come, but it's kind of hard asking people who are here, right? I just wanted to bring it as an area of concern for me as the chair. I love to have more people. We had a great discussion today, and I think we all added to what we're doing here, and I'd love to see that continue.
I know the reason that Member Hernandez was unable to be here was a coaching
Oh,
situation.
coaching
So-
season. Okay.
I
Maybe
don't know whether later in the evening would help with his or not, but
we could keep it as is and discuss, because our next meeting would be in,
next meeting,
August. Yeah.
in August?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay,
Yep.
in August. Okay,
put that on there.
it's okay.
Do we have a date for that next meeting?
I will get you that right now. Hang on.
Okay, okay.
Put that on our calendars.
My network seems to be.
Could you maybe send it to us in email?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
It's just fighting me a little bit.
I think it's August 15th.
Like fighting the computer. Yes, August 15th.
Okay.
So that's the third Monday in August.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, the last, please, is if there's any business for the good of the order. Feel like I'm jeopardizing, or not jeopardizing, monopolizing the meeting. I promise I'm not. I did want to add that there is going to be a Juneteenth celebration. You're all invited to Pioneer Park on June 19th, a cookout. I am on the board of a local newly formed nonprofit called Coloring or Cocoa. And so we're having Juneteenth happen, and I'm working on that. So more information on social media. And I just think it coincides very well with the proclamation. Other folks were having submit a proclamation to the city of Wallowal so that we're all able to have something there to celebrate and acknowledge the date and
Do you have information on that?
I do, yeah.
If you send it to me, I will add it with the agenda item when the mayor does her proclamation.
Okay, yeah, I have the, we just had the flyer printed out today at local printing shop in College Place. So I can provide more information on that. And I think that was what I wanted to bring today. Is there any other business for the good of the order? Any other items you want to bring forward?
I'll send you a program guide that was put together through Blue Zones Committee that I think this board gave input for. But it's really well thought out and really nicely designed.
That's what you were showing me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it looks familiar.
there's a pre-event planning. So things to think about, fundamentally that you think about in diversity that you would want to plan an event in that way. And then there's even registration,
Yeah.
how you market it, and then the logistics of how to accommodate. So all of those things, it's like really nicely laid out with a resource. So,
I was on that committee.
yeah.
I was like, that looked familiar. So it's an equitable lens to planning events. And I think that we should incorporate that and maybe share that with the city and folks who do that as something to take into consideration.
Yeah, the design just came back today, from what I understand, just came back, so
Oh,
it's
okay. I
ready
haven't seen that
for
official.
distribution.
Thank you. Yes, and we're utilizing that for our plan, but I think it'd be great to have
Is that
that.
something I'd reach out to Emily for?
I can forward it to you.
You can?
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
perfect.
It was originally called HEDI and then it was
Yeah.
Inclusive Planning Guide. I believe it's a new name. So I'm glad that our community, it was made by community members
Mhm.
with, different folks testing it out or giving some feedback, and now it's finished, and I haven't checked my email yet. So that's great. Thank you for bringing that. If there are no other items for the good of the order, we do have to make a motion do we have a motion to conclude the meeting today?
Motion.
Okay, motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay. If there's no objection, we are concluding the meeting at 5:52 p.m. Thank you.
Good job. All right, Lisa, Allison.